This is episode 7 with Craig Ballantyne. Featured iTunes Reviewer of the Week is Mike McManus. He says the content and insight from his guests is powerful, helps me keep going, and inspires to live a better life. Thank you for putting this together. You're welcome, Michael. Go to thrivinglifeclub.com/iTunes, submit a quick review, and you might also get featured as the Reviewer of the Week during one of the upcoming episodes. Hi, my name is Leon Gabrielian, and this is the Thriving Life Club, the podcast for those who want to thrive in every area of life. Thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the club. Let's begin. I'm excited because we have Craig Ballantyne joining us today at the Thriving Life Club. Craig is known for his most famous product, Turbulence Training, released in 2001, which went on to sell over 100,000 copies that influenced millions of people through its YouTube videos and Train the Trainer certification. He's the owner of the Denver-based personal development organization called Early to Rise. His daily wisdom reaches 150,000 readers and teaches people how to build their wealth, improve their health, and become the best version of themselves. Craig's latest book, called The Perfect Day Formula, is for busy men and women who want extraordinary results in every area of life. Today, the focus of the company has shifted to work specifically with high-achieving entrepreneurs with businesses in the 1 million to 20 million range. Craig, welcome to the club. I'm really excited. How are you?
Really great. This is going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. Let's go briefly talk about your journey. How did you get where you are right now?
Yeah, so I started off, grew up in a small town in Canada, and we played a lot of ice hockey up here, and I wanted to be in the National Hockey League as a strength and conditioning coach. And then I went to school for that, but then I actually stumbled into an opportunity of writing for Men's Health magazine, which is the biggest fitness magazine in the world. And then I started creating programs for them, and I started selling those programs online, as you mentioned, in 2001 with a program called Turbulence Training. And I had a very nice career in the fitness industry, helping a lot of people. We have YouTube videos. Someone just showed me one of my videos the other day that has been watched over 2.6 million times. So it's really neat to be able to help all of those people. And then over that time, I realized I wanted to help entrepreneurs save time and make more money, just like I wanted to help people save time and lose more weight with my workout programs. And so I was able to do that, and I put together my book, The Perfect Day Formula, and I bought the business Early to Rise, and we help people do all of that, whether they're executives in a company, in a big corporation, or whether they are entrepreneurs, or whether they own very large companies, or whether they are authors. So it's really great to work with all these people.
Let's talk about The Perfect Day Formula.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the book about?
It's about how to get more done in the same amount of hours or even fewer hours every day by figuring out how your schedule should be customized for your energy levels, for your family life, for your business, for your career, for whatever it is that you want to achieve in life. And it takes you through a set of principles and systems that can be applied whether you're a night owl or whether you're an early morning riser like myself, or whether you have to work the 9-to-5 corporate job. You are going to find the systems and habits and routines of very successful people inside the book and be able to apply those to your life as well.
So in the book, you also talk about how to control your day. Is it even possible to control? What do you mean by control? How is it possible?
Yeah, you can get control of your morning, which is the most important thing. And, we control what time we get up, and we control what we do in our first 30 minutes or hour of the day, and we control what we eat for breakfast, and we control whether or not we get a head start of getting to work, and we control what we do when we get to work. And then from there, the day tends to get a little bit chaotic. But if we have controlled the morning and we have had a victory, we've had progress in our day, then we actually have momentum and motivation to keep going through the tough times and the chaos of the rest of the afternoon. And then we are also able to get our work done on time so that we can get home to our family and be present with what matters and concentrate on what counts. And that is our children, and that is our spouses, and that is our boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever it is, our friends, our hobbies, our personal life. And that's what you can do. That's how you control the morning to own your day.
What are some of the things to do during that perfect day and things to avoid?
Well, the things that you want to do are make sure that you get up at the right time for you. And most people, they don't need to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or anything extreme like that. But it would be very helpful if they got up an extra 10 or 15 minutes early every day so that they're not feeling like they're behind. And in that 10 or 15 minutes, you can really organize and structure your morning, feel like you've had that victory that gives you the momentum and motivation to keep going. And then from there, you want to make sure that you don't get sucked into checking email or social media too early in the day. You don't want to be sucked into gossiping at work. You don't want to be sucked into long meetings or long calls that go on longer than they need to. And when you have a nice structure in your day and scheduled and scripted out your day, and you stick to it in nice chunks and time blocks, it doesn't have to be extreme right down to the minute. But if you have good boundaries in your day and you say no to things that don't matter and you say no to the things that suck away your time, then you actually get all of your work accomplished and you don't feel overwhelmed. And again, you can get done at the right time and home to your family so that you don't miss dinner and you don't miss children's activities and you don't miss time with your spouse and you don't miss time for your self-care, and whether it's meditation or exercise or reading. And you can really fit a lot into a great day when you have the right systems in place.
How do you make the right decisions to overcome the temptations and obstacles?
Well, the first thing to do is try and eliminate your access to temptation. So, whether it's junk food, you want to keep it far away from you, or whether it's certain environments that you should stay out of, the more that you can avoid that stuff in the first place, the easier it's going to be to eliminate the temptation and distraction from your life. And then it's just a matter of, okay, if it's going to be around, whether it's your phone or whether it's peanut M&Ms that are going to be in the office, you have to have systems into place that will help you not get sucked into, eating the peanut M&Ms when you don't need them or checking your phone when you don't need it. And it could be something as simple as putting your phone in airplane mode and then putting it in a desk drawer, because if it's out of sight, then it's out of mind. And same with junk food. If you keep the junk food off your desk, if you keep the junk food out of your desk drawers and you keep it, hidden far away from you, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be tempted by it. And so it's just these little systems that can be put in place so that we can avoid the temptations and distractions, because oftentimes it's not just the good things that we do, but the bad things that we can avoid that allow us to be successful in life.
I've heard that you had anxiety attacks. Could you tell me more about that and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so that was back in the day when I wasn't avoiding distractions and I wasn't avoiding temptation. So I was a young man. I was about 30 years old. I was living in the big city of Toronto, and I was relatively successful with the online business. The Turbulence Training program had taken off. And I was a bit of a hypocrite because I would, spend 6 days a week in the gym training people and getting up early and being very healthy. And then one day a week, I would go out partying with my friends. And when I would do that, it would end up causing me anxiety the next day. I'd feel hungover. I'd have too much caffeine. I'd had too much alcohol the night before and not enough sleep. And eventually it all caught up to me. And it was 12 years ago around the holiday time when after a New Year's Eve party, I thought that I was having a heart attack the next day because I drank too many Red Bulls and too much alcohol the night before. And so I went to the emergency room and I walked in and I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And they took me into the back and they did a bunch of tests on me and said, there's nothing physically wrong with you. And then I went home and realized I probably am suffering from anxiety. And it went on for quite a long time. But I tried all these things to overcome it because anxiety is a very painful, difficult process to go through. So I tried yoga, meditation, Qigong, which is a standing meditation. And I did Tai Chi, and I learned how to breathe properly, and I learned how to slow down, and I put more structure into my days, and I avoided temptation. I eliminated distraction from my life. And when I was finally able to do that and learn how to breathe properly and slow down and release the stress through these actions, that I was finally able to overcome the anxiety and build a system in my life that allowed me to be very productive. So wasn't like I stopped working or anything, but it also allowed me to live a healthier lifestyle. And, I started eliminating myself from environments where my friends would be out drinking. And, I still was able to see them in other environments where we hung out at lunch or at breakfast or for tea or coffee in the afternoon, or maybe during the weekdays in the evenings, and we stayed out of trouble. And I just avoided hanging around certain people on the weekends. And that way I wasn't tempted to go into my old patterns that would give me anxiety. So I just started living a better life, a more virtuous life. And I just had so many rewards from it because I was able to go on and be more productive and write my book and coach other entrepreneurs. And so I'm very grateful in a way for having to have that obstacle of the anxiety attacks. And I just want people to know, if they ever have them, that you can overcome them through using these systems and putting in place healthier lifestyle choices and blocking yourself off from bad environments. And that'll work for any bad habit that you have, and you can overcome it and put in place the structure for you to be more successful in every area of your life, from work to personal relationships.
Was it the combination of everything, the yoga, the qigong, and the different practices? Was it the combination of everything, or was there something that just, was the number one thing that made the biggest impact?
Yeah, that's a really great question, actually. And the answer is twofold. So first, when I found out there was nothing physically wrong with me, that was very important for the doctors to be able to say that, like, hey, listen, there's nothing physically wrong with you. You might have some anxiety. So, just make some changes. And then knowing that there was nothing physically wrong with me allowed me to like stop being a hypochondriac. And, I wasn't worried about my physical health. And I just started figuring out, well, how can I reduce my stress? And then the most important thing from that was learning how to breathe properly, which is common among meditation and yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong. And, it's a very common practice to each one of those things, a very important factor in successful practice of those habits. And even though I didn't love any of those habits, learning how to breathe properly, meaning a big, deep breath in through my nose, filling up my belly, and then nice, slow exhale through my mouth, well, that allowed me to just calm down my nervous system. So it was really learning how to breathe properly, because most people, we're hunched over our computers and we breathe from our upper chest. And when you breathe from your upper chest instead of your belly, you end up having short and shallow breaths. And what that leads to is an increase in adrenaline in your bloodstream, epinephrine, which is a hormone in your bloodstream. And that leads to anxiety, because adrenaline is like a stimulant to your body. And if you're constantly stimulated, you're going to end up with that stress feeling. You're going to end up with that pressure in your chest and that, all the thoughts racing through your head. And so when I was finally able to step back, learn how to breathe properly, now I'm able to calm myself down any time of the day. I can calm myself down when I want to go to sleep. I can calm myself down in the middle of a meeting. I can calm myself down in traffic. And it was that breathing, that sense of calm that was developed from it that made the biggest difference.
How old are you right now?
I'm 42 years old right now. So I was about 30 when I had the anxiety attacks.
So between 30 to 42, for those who are listening to us and they're between 30 and 42, there are things that they think that make a big difference, for example, in life. Like they go through their life, their week, their month, doing things for certain reasons. What are some of the things that most people think matter that you've discovered, you found out now that you're 42, that in the long run don't really matter, that they're not worth focusing on?
Yeah, that is a really great question. And I think a lot of people just kind of get caught up in the little bubbles in which they live, whether it is whether you think like that CrossFit is the be all and end all of your life right now, and you're in there 5 nights a week and, you're spending 10 hours a week there. And then 3 years later, you look back and you go, oh my goodness, what was I doing? I was spending all this time there. And it can be anything from CrossFit to going to the same bar every night to, hanging around certain people and watching every television show that comes out on Netflix, or just, being worried about the opinions of other people. And really this is a great time in your life when you have the opportunity to really explore yourself. Your 20s are a great time, lots of energy and very social. And then when you hit around 30, people start to slow down and they move off and they break off into, family stuff. And some people continue to go out and party. And you need to figure out, well, what really is right for me? And so making that decision and doing that introspection and self-reflection is one of the most important things that you can do. So just don't get caught up in bubbles and thinking that these little things that you're really focused on right now are going to matter in the long, long future. In most cases, day-to-day stuff, social media, that stuff doesn't matter. And you just need to think like, in 20 years from now, am I doing stuff that I'm going to look back and say, I'm really, really grateful that I, was focused on this, on my learning, on my career, on building relationships with very important people, getting mentors. You have to take a very mature look at your life right now and just pause and reflect whether you need to go and, spend a weekend by yourself, or whether you can just do this on a Saturday morning, or whether you need to take a 7-day retreat or something. But do some introspection and figure out what is right for your future. And this will make all the difference in the world.
Does it mean having goals, setting goals, writing them down?
Yeah, that certainly helps. Just don't get overwhelmed. Don't write down hundreds and hundreds of goals or even dozens of goals, but just figure out, what's the most important thing for your family life? What's the most important, or your relationships, whatever it is you want to call it? What's the most important thing for your health? Do you really need to be running half marathons all the time, or do you just want to stay healthy, or are you really want to be a focused, athlete in some area? Just figure out what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do in that area. And then figure out the same thing for your career and your wealth building. Like, are you more focused on being involved in a social business where you give back to the community, or are you more focused on really building wealth and you just enjoy building wealth and you want to do something with your wealth in the future? Are you really focused on your career and in an area of being productive? You want to write a whole bunch of books, or, have the #1 podcast in a certain area? Just figure out what you want to do that really matters, because most people try and do too many things at work and in their career, and they spread themselves very thin. So it's very important to get very laser focused, because then you can really achieve great things in that one area. And that will allow you to have money, and that will allow you to have freedom, and that will allow you to have respect of your peers, which most people want to have. So figure out what matters in your health, your wealth, your relationships, and then also figure out something like, where do I want to leave an impact, and what legacy do I want to have? Is it a charity that I want to get involved in, or is it some volunteer work? And just figure out, how can you give back to the community, whether it's on your local community or whether it's to a bigger, global community. And if you have goals in those 4 areas, very clear picture of where you want to get to for your health, your wealth, your personal life, your relationships, your family, and your personal enrichment to the world, your charity work and impact and legacy, then you're going to have a very clear vision of your future. And you're going to say, okay, I understand that in order to do these things, I need to sacrifice in these areas, and I need to spend more time focusing in these other areas. And that will put me on the right path to my future. And then continually go back and check, whether it's quarterly or whether it's every half year or even every year. Just go back and revisit your values to make sure that what you thought mattered a year ago still matters to you now, and that you're still doing the right activities to move you ahead towards where you want to get to in life. Because it's really important to go back, do that self-reflection, and just make sure that your GPS for your life is keeping you on track.
Where does one get that access to the GPS? Is it internal, or does it have to be external? Do you have to have a coach or some kind of mastermind, be part of a mastermind?
That's always helped me, getting coaching, getting mentoring. But I mean, if you're struggling and starting off with a limited budget, you can always just watch lots of great YouTube videos, read my book, Perfect Day Formula. I have questions in there that help people build their vision for their future. You can then, watch some of my videos on YouTube, and then I have advanced video coaching programs, and I have this Perfect Day Formula kit with more questions in there to help people build their goals and their vision. And so, you can get your advice from me, or you can go to other coaches that are out there. And I really found when I got a coach when I was younger, it gave me exponential results. But again, I didn't always have the money for coaching, so I was buying books and always studying. But really, one key is always to have self-reflection. Spend a little bit of time on your own, asking yourself important questions, doing introspection, figuring out to make sure that you have the right principles in place for your life, and not being influenced by other people's beliefs of how your life should be. I mean, it's okay to take them into account and say, oh, that's an interesting approach. Let me think about that. But, don't do things just because other people tell you to do things or think that you should be doing things. Make sure that, again, you're making the right decisions for your right life right now and always.
How does the morning and ultimately the day, every single day, play role in the overall, achieving of this vision?
Yeah. So first of all, the vision impacts your day. So when you know what you want to achieve through your vision, then that's going to dictate how you spend your days, and then how you spend your days are going to determine whether or not you're moving towards your vision. So it's all in this cycle. And so what I teach people to do is make sure that they get up at the right time for themselves, as we talked about before. Make sure they get up a little bit earlier. It doesn't have to be hours earlier, but a little bit earlier than they are getting up right now, so that they don't feel overwhelmed. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you get to bed on time. And so there's a couple of habits that I teach people. In order to have a great morning, you actually have to start planning the night before. So we're actually doing this call late in the afternoon. And as soon as I'm done this, I'm going to go and start doing this 3-step planning system that I have for making tomorrow an amazing day. And the first step in it is doing what's called a brain dump. So you take out a piece of paper and you write down all the things running through your head, like all the people you want to talk to tomorrow, all the things you want to get done, all the hobbies and activities that you want to include in your day. And you go, okay, that's a lot of stuff. Now you prioritize it and you start putting it into a schedule for the next day. And you identify the number one or the two most important things you must get done tomorrow in order to make it a very successful day. And then you write down a few other things like, if I get these other things done, it'll be great. But if I don't, that's fine too. And then, so you've done your brain dump, and then you've done your to-do list through that priority work. And then you look at your number one priority, your number one project you have to get done tomorrow for work. And you say, well, is there anything I can do right now to make it easier? So, when I'm as a writer, I always make sure I put a few bullet points together for the chapter of the book that I want to write the next morning, so that when I go to work during my deep work time in the morning, that it's easy for me to open up my Word document. I see a couple of bullet points there and I can start writing based on those bullet points. And that's a lot easier than opening up my computer and just having a blank Word document staring back at me, because I'm like, oh, what should I write about? So you want to do a little bit of planning to make the path smoother the next day. Another example of this would be if you wanted to exercise first thing in the morning. Well, you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and it might be cold outside and you're like, oh, I'm just going to stay in my warm bed here. But if you have your exercise clothes right beside your bed, then, you just put your exercise clothes on. And once the exercise clothes are on and you put your shoes on, you're halfway there. But if the exercise clothes are in the drawers, all the way across the room, you don't want to get out of bed. So it's just making that path smoother. What can you do to make it easy for you to get started in the morning? So those little habits there help you get started and make things go well in the morning. And then there's another thing that I teach people to do, which is to set a reverse alarm at night, because most people struggle to get to bed on time. You want to get to bed 11 o'clock, but the next thing you know, you started watching Netflix at 10:30, and then it's like, oh, I'll just watch one more show. And then it's 12:30, you're an hour and a half late for bed. And then that means you sleep in the next morning, and it can be really difficult to get on track. So what we teach people to do is to set an alarm for 60 minutes before bed. And what you do is, if you want to go to bed and fall asleep at 11 o'clock, that means at 10 o'clock, your alarm goes off. And your alarm indicates to you that you no longer are allowed to use your iPhone or your Android or whatever it is, your phone, your laptop, any type of screens. You have to shut everything down. And then you start to prepare for the next day. You lay out your work clothes. You do, make your lunch. You do the dishes. You talk to your boyfriend, girlfriend, or spouse. You make sure the kids are all tucked in if you have children. Maybe you have a bath. Maybe you read a book or a magazine, and you wind down. And the next thing you know, it's like 10:45, and you're like can barely keep your eyes open, and you fall asleep, and you have a great night's sleep, and you wake up on time the next day. And you have a very successful morning, and you own your day because you controlled your morning by getting to bed on time. So that is the system that I teach people, and it's very, very easy to use.
What kind of role do rules play in that? What's the importance of rules? How to set them?
That is a good question as well. Most people, when they hear me talk about putting rules into place for their life, they think, oh, I do not like this guy. I do not like this idea of more rules and systems in my life. I just want to be free. But here's the thing. When rules are imposed upon you by other people or by the government, you resist against them, you rebel against them. We all drive a little bit faster than the rule of the speed limit, or, we don't like the rules that the government gives us for our business. We follow them, but we kind of get annoyed by them. Or even paying taxes. We're like, oh, I wish I didn't have to pay so many taxes, but that's the rules. But those are other people's rules. However, in order for us to be the most successful person that we can be, it's very helpful when we have an operating system for ourselves. And that means having our own little rules about how we operate. Like, this is what time I get up. I go to church every Sunday. I exercise for 30 minutes every day. I follow this type of nutrition program. I spend 30 minutes talking to my boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse every night. And I read a book for 20 minutes every day. And if I follow these rules, I'll be very successful in my life. Because it's like having your iPhone. Your iPhone has a powerful operating system, and that powerful operating system allows you to call people in Japan, or watch YouTube videos, or post on social media, or use an app for GPS, or get an Uber. And it's all because of the rules built into that iPhone. And so we want to build our own operating system through our own personal rules that allow us to do the best that we can every single day, because it helps us make the right decisions, as we talked about before, and eliminate distractions and avoid temptations when we know the boundaries for our life. And, we set these boundaries. We say, hey, if we operate within these boundaries, we're going to be really successful at work and in our personal relationships. And yeah, we'll probably get outside of those boundaries once in a while. But if we know the boundaries, we're going to stay on track most of the time and have a pretty darn good life.
Sounds awesome. Tell us about the story about pregnant woman and having rules.
A lot of people struggle to say no to drinking too much alcohol at a party, or you go to a party and it's like, I got to go to work tomorrow and I want to be fresh at work tomorrow. But people are like saying, oh, just have one drink. But if you have one drink, you're probably going to have 2 drinks or 3 drinks. And then you're going to wake up groggy the next morning. And, if it's a Thursday night, you're going to wake up and you have a bad Friday at work. And yeah, it's going to be fun. But at the same time, it's like you would have had pretty good time without the alcohol. Now, imagine if you were a pregnant a woman, obviously, and you were at this party and somebody offered you a drink and you would say, no, I can't have a drink because I'm pregnant. And be very easy for you to say no. So that's like a built-in boundary. And if we think, okay, well, how can we apply that to our lives? We think, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to say that I don't drink on a work night. I'll go out and have a couple of glasses of wine on a Friday night because I don't have to, get up and work at my job on Saturday morning. So it's okay. But on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night, even if I have a work dinner, I'm not going to drink alcohol because that's going to sacrifice my morning. And I want to be successful and productive. So you build in that rule. And so when somebody offers you alcohol on a Tuesday night at a work dinner, even if you've just closed a great deal or made a great sale, you say, I appreciate it, but I don't drink during the week just because I want to stay fresh for tomorrow. So thank you. I really appreciate it. But I just have a little rule that I don't drink. And that's very similar to just like how the pregnant lady said, I can't drink because I'm pregnant. I appreciate it, but I just can't drink. That's the rule that I have. And because I'm taking care of my baby. And you, when you have your own rule for this, you're just taking care of yourself. And again, people will give you a little bit of pushback. But when you describe it like that and you say, oh, it's just a rule that I have, I don't do that, people will kind of back off a little bit more because they'll be like, oh, you have that rule. Just like when somebody's on a paleo diet, which means they don't eat, grains, and somebody says, here, have this piece of birthday cake. Oh, I'm on a paleo diet, so I don't eat birthday cake. And that way, you're not eating birthday cake 5 days a week in the office because there's a bunch of birthdays. And so it's just these little systems. They're the operating system that make you smooth and successful. And you do it with less willpower and discipline than ever before. So thank you for reminding me of that story.
What are some of the core values in your life that are absolutely non-negotiable?
Yeah, for me, they are definitely family first and foremost. So, I teach that for my team members in my business as well, that, someone's sick or if someone has passed away in their family, it's, hey, listen, you drop everything and you take care of your family first. And so that's really important to me. Health is also very important. The great thing about health is that most people think you have to exercise hours a day and can never enjoy your favorite foods. But the truth is, if you do a little bit of that self-reflection on your health, and you say, oh, when I eat this food, I don't feel that great, so I'm just going to eliminate it, or I'm just not going to eat it that often. You can still enjoy your favorite foods, but you find the foods that give you energy. And it's, you can find a lot of good foods that taste great that give you energy. And so it's just a little bit of self-reflection. You'll figure out what works for you so that you can live a long and energetic life and be healthy without going to extremes. So family first, and then health, and then making sure that, you spend time with other people, because at the end of your life, it's really about the people you spent your time with and the experiences you had with them, rather than making a whole bunch of money or, accumulating a lot of stuff. So those are the principles that I live by and I teach to most people, because it helps when they understand that. They have way less stress, and yeah, they're going to go and work hard. But if they see somebody else successful, they're not going to be having comparison syndrome and being all worried and anxious, because they know they're doing the best in all areas of their life when they use my systems.
And do you have a specific philosophy towards life and work, and balancing those two things? Or is it possible to balance? Is it a myth, or is it possible to balance both?
It's a great question, and I actually use the phrase work-life mastery. So if you had balance, that means there's an equal amount. That means you sleep 8 hours, you have 8 hours of non-work time, and then you have 8 hours of work. But you know what? We're not going to have that in our lives most days, and we're definitely not going to have that every day, and it's okay. I mean, some people really, really love their work. They want to be writing or painting or, trading stocks 10 hours a day. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. And then there's other people that just want to be spending more time with family, or they want to be involved in more charity work. So again, you have to just take a look at what matters for your life, and you build work-life mastery for you. And you don't say, oh, because, my friend, he only works 8 hours, 4 days a week, or, my mom worked 10 hours, 5 days a week. That's what they did. That doesn't mean you have to do the same. You have to figure out what is right for you, for your health, your family, your wealth, your impact on the world, what you really want to achieve. And that all comes back from your vision. So once you know your vision, then you can build your work-life mastery.
What are the top 3 things that you absolutely need to thrive during a typical day?
Yeah, for me, I definitely need to have writing time in the morning. So that's my job. It's my career, and I just love it. And it's a way for me to get a lot of the thoughts out of my head down onto paper, and teaching lessons and building my business. So I always need writing time first thing in the morning, and I need exercise at some point in the day, and I need good conversation with somebody else at some point in the day, whether it's a girlfriend or whether it's a business partner or mentor, or just somebody with a completely different perspective on life. I need that in my day, because I love to learn. And I think learning through conversation and stories, as we are doing on this podcast, is the best way to learn. So, I try and do a podcast almost every day too, because it gives me a chance to talk to interesting people like yourself. And that way, we learn and we teach and grow. So those are the 3 things that I love to have. And I've never been asked this question before, and I really appreciate it. And I think that I'll start asking other people the same question.
How do you start your day? Do you have a morning routine, something different from everyone else?
It is actually a little bit different, because it's very, very simple. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, a little bit before 4 o'clock in the morning, because I like to try and start my routine at 4 o'clock. So I walk downstairs, I pet my dog for a couple minutes, I make a greens drink, and then I sit down on my computer and I start working right away while listening to classical music. And I know a lot of other people, they do a whole bunch of other things first. They do meditation or journaling or something, but I go right to work because I enjoy it, and it's also really important to me. And I know that if I don't do it, then sometimes distractions will get in my way. But this is the absolute most important, project I need to do every day. So that's how I structure my day. And after I've written for 90 minutes, then I do meditation, then I walk my dog, then I have breakfast, and then I go and do some more work. So I have a slightly different morning routine than most people. I really think mine is the best approach, because I really think it's good to get to work and get the projects done first thing.
How does it feel to run early to rise? I know it's been your vision for 5 years. You declared to your coach at the time before acquiring the company. Do you feel lucky? I mean, this was your dream at one point, and now you're running Early to Rise.
Yeah, I was very lucky and very fortunate. And so in 2006, I hired my first business coach, and he said to me on the very first call, he said, "Craig, what do you want your business to look like?" And I said, "Well, right now I'm doing this fitness stuff, but I want to have a business like Early to Rise. And Early to Rise helps people build their wealth and improve their health and do all this great stuff, just as you mentioned in the introduction." And he said, "Oh, yeah, I know that business. Well, if you want to run that business, Craig, you need to become a better coach, a better writer, a better trainer, a better speaker. You need to do more networking." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's a lot of work, but I'm going to start doing that." And so I started doing that, and I started working with other people. And another time, a few years later, I told another friend that I wanted to have a business like Early to Rise. And then he was speaking to the owner of Early to Rise, and the owner of Early to Rise said to my friend that he was ready to sell the business. And so my friend emailed me and said, "Hey, do you still want to own Early to Rise?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So we negotiated a deal and we bought the business 5 years, 3 months, and 17 days after my first coach asked me what I wanted my business to look like in 5 years. And so I was very fortunate, but it was the law of action attraction. I did the work and I attracted opportunity into my life by doing the work. And that's the same way it's all going to play out for everybody listening. So I encourage people, if they have a dream and a vision, to take action every day towards that vision so they can achieve it. And make sure you tell good, positive people about your dreams, people that will support you and bring opportunity to you. And when you do that, everything that you want, exactly what you want, can come to you, whether it's personal life or whether it's professional life. And I've owned this business for over 6 years now, and I'm very grateful for it. And we help a lot of people every day. And there's really nothing I'd rather be doing.
Sounds awesome. Tell me more about your family, and how do you have any advice on how to help your family help you build a business? Having a family and running a business, some people cannot combine those together. What is your advice to make those two work together?
Well, it's all about communicating, what you're trying to achieve, and then showing them how it's going to benefit them. So you say, "Hey, I'm going to get up earlier because that'll allow me to get my work done so that I can spend more time with you later. So I know that it's, you don't really want me to get up too much earlier or go to bed too early, but I'm doing this for you and I'm doing this for the family." And so when you communicate that properly and everybody understands why this is being done, then everybody is going to be more accommodating to it. If you don't communicate, if you start doing things, say, "Yeah, this is the way I want to do things," obviously people are not going to respond very well to that. So it all comes down to communication. It's the same with your team at work. It's the same with your friends in your life. You just need to communicate why you're doing it, but also showing that why there's a benefit for that other person, and they'll be more accepting.
How do you define a good communication? How do you know that the communication was successful?
So first of all, you want to be a great listener, and you want to understand how they are feeling. So once you know how they are feeling, then you communicate very simply and clearly what you're doing and the benefit to them. And then you ask them again, how are you feeling about this? And do you understand that this is what, you explain it and you say, "Do you understand that? Do you agree with that? Do you have any objections to that?" And then you might work things out a little bit more. And then you ask them, like, you say, like, "Okay, so this is what I'd like to do. And does that sound okay with you?" And you need to get that confirmation from the other person, that everybody understands, and you get them to explain it back to you so that everybody's clear. I know some conversations are going to be difficult, but you need to have the clear, concise conversation so that everybody's on the same page, and so that everybody's moving in the right direction, and there's no animosity or there's no frustration, because that can build up and then lead to big fights, even though it's just started from a very small problem. So whenever you have small problems in your life, make sure you address them through clear, concise communication.
And talking about problems, what is one of the worst problems you had that you had to overcome, other than having the anxiety attacks, that built your character and who you are right now?
Yeah, so I definitely had introverted tendencies when I was younger, which means I would be fine just sitting in my hotel room rather than going down to the conference. And so I had to, some people would say that might be shyness or something. And so I had to learn how to overcome that. And you can overcome it by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and realizing, oh, and then after you get through that uncomfortable situation and you learn some lessons, then you sit back and go, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And how can I do better in the future? And you ask yourself those 3 questions after every situation. Then you are going to start using better habits and start eliminating bad habits, and difficult things will become easier over time. So that's how I was able to overcome the introversion and become a better and great networker. Now everybody thinks I'm a great networker and very good speaker because I did a lot of hard work to overcome it.
There you go. So you're living proof that introverted person can succeed and learn, the skills of extroversion. And I am also the same way. What is your Myers-Briggs personality type? Do you know?
Can you guess?
Well, INTP?
No, INTJ.
INTJ. Okay. What does J stand for?
Judgmental.
Mine is INTP.
What's the P stand for?
I don't know.
Oh.
Perceiver.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think I'm more like rigid in my interpretations of things. That's what the judgment is, I believe.
On your Instagram, you posted the 10 best books that you read in 2017, one of them being the autobiography of Charlie Chaplin. Could you tell me more about what you got out of that book and what got you to read that book?
Well, I mean, it's a big, long book, that's for sure. But you'll discover that he was a really great salesperson. And he had to raise money for his films. He had to convince other people to, go to his films. He was always promoting. He grew up on the streets of London, at the turn of the century, like in late 1890s. He had to always be scratching for success. And he was just an incredible person. And he built up an incredible network. I mean, he has there's one chapter in there, he's hanging out at Einstein's apartment, and the next day he's, going to Japan and somebody tried to assassinate him. I mean, it's just a crazy life story. So there's very few life stories like that, but you just see how hard he worked to make things happen, but also that he was as much of a salesperson as he was a performer. So it was very eye-opening.
Did that help you any way in your business?
Yeah, I mean, it just showed me that you always need to be persuading other people, and there were ways in which he connected people, and that always inspired me and motivated me. There wasn't anything that I took directly that changed my sales processes, but just reminded me to be a very good person, connect other people, because, the person you meet today, you might just be friends with them for 5 years. And then all of a sudden in 5 years from now, you do a business venture with them. And so you want to make sure that you were treated them properly and treated them right. And he did everything with honor and integrity. So it was just a really good guidebook on how to do business and live your life right.
What do you think, in your opinion, would be the greatest misfortune?
I think the worst thing would be to go through your life and not take some chances, and to also just let your days get wasted. Our days can get wasted in so many ways, through commutes, through traffic, through doing too much exercise even, and I'm a guy who sells exercise programs, but a lot of people exercise too much, or, you're spending too much time on social media, or you're watching too many shows on HBO. You just have to constantly check in and figure out, am I doing what's right for me at this time? And you need to have other people around you who are going to ask the same challenging questions. So make sure that you don't get caught in a little bubble, as I mentioned before, where you think something's important, and then in 3 to 5 years from now, you look back and you go, oh my goodness, that was just such a waste of time. It wasn't important at all. And I regret that. So make sure that you're living for the future, not just for the present.
As you went through life, your friends, were they older than you or younger than you or the same age as you are?
Mostly around the same age. And I was often doing things different than they were. But, they would be out partying and I would say, no, I'm not going to party tonight. I'm going to work. And eventually, just by living by that example, a lot of them came around. A lot of them are healthier than I am now. And some of them are more successful. They just took a little bit longer to come around to that. So you have to be willing to do things a little bit different from people if it's the right thing for you, because other people will come around to it eventually. But I was always hanging around people that were mostly my age, and I get a little bit of coaching and mentorship from people that are older than me. I like talking to older people as well, and I love talking to younger people as well. I get very energized by the young folk in the business world these days.
How do you deal with the challenges at the beginning? For example, when you start a new company, at the beginning, there's not too many likes, there's not too many comments or feedback that you get. How do you deal with that? How do you break through and keep moving forward?
It's all about the people. You have to get a mentor, you have to get coaching, you have to surround yourself with other great people, and you just have to continue to add value and find a way to be connected with as many people as possible. You can't do it all on your own, and so you need to make sure that what you're doing is different and unique and adds value to other people, to your customers, but also to your business partners or to your mentors. And it really comes down to the people that you're involved with in life in every area.
And my final question, Craig, what is your definition of a thriving life?
A thriving life, it just builds on that last answer that I just gave you. It's so comes down to the people that you spend your time with and the experiences you have. And yeah, you want to be healthy and you want to have energy, but you want to make sure that you are having those deep conversations with people. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in expensive, fancy places. You don't have to be eating expensive food. You don't have to be driving fancy cars. You just have to be with people you love who are challenging you to be your best self, to thrive as your best self. And when you do that, you're going to live a great, thriving life and be able to look back and say, you know what? I did the right things for my right life because of the right people I was around. Thriving life is about people and experiences, not about money or stuff.
Thank you very much, Craig, for your time.
Thank you. It's all about the quality of the questions, and you asked some ones that I've never been asked before, so I really appreciate it, and you got me to tell some stories, and thank you very much, sir.
Make sure to go review Thriving Life Club on iTunes and mention the most important thing you got out of this conversation with Craig Ballantyne today. Go to thrivinglifeclub.com/iTunes to submit a review today. Check out the show notes and the episode freebie at thrivinglifeclub.com/7. That's the number 7. Find out more about Craig Ballantyne and the Perfect Day Formula at perfectdayformula.com, and also check out his company website at earlytorise.com. I highly recommend subscribing to their newsletter. I also welcome your questions or feedback. Go ahead and send me an email to hello@thrivinglifeclub.com or contact me via the website leongabrielian.com. And remember, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, and live a thriving life. Until next time.